Alzheimer's disease is characterized by the accumulation of amyloid beta plaques and tau protein tangles in the brain, leading to neuronal death and brain atrophy. These changes affect the brain's ability to function properly, impairing memory, thinking, and behavior. The exact cause of Alzheimer's disease is still under investigation, but it is believed to involve a combination of genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Parkinson's disease is primarily caused by the loss of dopamine-producing cells in the substantia nigra, a region of the midbrain. The decline in dopamine levels leads to the symptoms of Parkinson's, including tremors, stiffness, and difficulty with movement. The exact reason why these cells die is not fully understood, but it involves a mix of genetic and environmental factors, including the presence of Lewy bodies, which are abnormal aggregates of protein that develop inside nerve cells. Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease where the body's immune system attacks its tissues, specifically the myelin sheath that covers nerve fibers in the central nervous system. This damage disrupts communication between the brain and the body, leading to symptoms such as fatigue, walking difficulties, numbness, and muscle weakness. The cause of MS is unknown, but it is thought to involve genetic susceptibility and possibly environmental factors, like viral infections. Epilepsy is a disorder in which the activity of neural networks in the brain becomes dysregulated, leading to recurrent seizures. These seizures can result from genetic disorders, brain damage from trauma or stroke, infections, or developmental disorders. The underlying mechanism involves abnormal electrical discharges in the brain's neurons, which can spread, causing seizures. A stroke occurs when the blood supply to part of the brain is interrupted or significantly reduced, depriving brain tissue of oxygen and nutrients. This can happen due to a blockage, ischemic stroke, or a burst blood vessel, hemorrhagic stroke. The brain cells in the affected area begin to die within minutes, which can result in permanent damage affecting movement, speech, and cognition, depending on the stroke's location and severity. Migraines are believed to be caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors that affect brain function. They involve changes in brain chemicals, including a temporary drop in serotonin levels and abnormal brain activity affecting nerve signals, chemicals, and blood vessels in the brain. This can trigger inflammation and the pain response associated with migraine headaches. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects motor neurons, which control voluntary muscle movement. The death of these neurons leads to muscle weakness, atrophy, and spasticity. The exact cause of ALS is unknown, but it is associated with genetic mutations, environmental factors, and a buildup of abnormal proteins in the motor neurons, called TDP-43. Huntington's disease is caused by a genetic mutation in the HTT gene, leading to the production of an abnormal version of the Huntington protein. This protein accumulates and forms aggregates in the brain, causing neuronal damage and death, particularly in the basal ganglia and cortex. This results in movement disorders, cognitive decline, and psychiatric symptoms. Traumatic brain injury results from a sudden trauma that causes damage to the brain. Depending on the injury's severity, it can lead to a wide range of functional short- or long-term changes affecting cognitive, physical, emotional, and sleep functions. The injury can cause bruising, torn tissues, bleeding, and other physical damage to the brain that can result in long-term complications or death. Spinal cord injury SCI, is caused by damage to the spinal cord that disrupts communication between the brain and the parts of the body controlled by the injured segments of the spinal cord. The extent of the injury and the syndrome produced depend on the particular location and severity of the injury. SCI can result in paralysis, loss of sensation, and dysfunction of the bowel and bladder, among other symptoms. Cerebral palsy is caused by abnormal brain development or damage to the developing brain, affecting a person's ability to control their muscles. Several factors can lead to cerebral palsy, including mutations in genes that lead to abnormal brain development, maternal infections that affect the developing fetus, and a lack of oxygen to the brain, hypoxia, during labor and delivery.